So this here is a 2006 Ford Territory, and we've had this vehicle since 2008. It's now been passed down. It was my vehicle for many years, but passed it down to my son, and today we're going to be adjusting the rear park brake. So we're required to get a thing called a wolf every year, which is basically a inspection on our vehicles. And one of the things I've said needs to be adjusted is the handbrake, and it goes up about 8 clicks, and so we're going to fix that today. So just a bit of backstory on the Ford Territory. So these are an Australian made, or were Australian made vehicle from 2004 to 2016 when production in Australia stopped. These are pretty much based on the Australian Ford Falcon platform. Of course, the Territory, as you can see, is an SUV. Pretty much a lot of the stuff in the Territories and the Falcons are shared, and you know, like the platform, but there's lots of things like the engines. This has a Barracuda Monday engine in it, the 4-litre straight 6 engine, which have been around a long time. There's many things in this vehicle, including things, just simple things like the dash, are shared between the Falcon and the Territory. Now the Territory came out in 2004, first variant, very popular in Australia and New Zealand. First version they called the SX. 2006, which this is, they changed the model to an SY, which this is an SY, slightly a few changes, not many. Then later on they did come out with the SZ, and at some point they did change also to a diesel variant of this as well. This is, though, has the 4-litre straight 6 petrol engine in it. Now, in respect of the handbrake, it is a drum brake, and you can adjust those drum brakes just like, pretty much like any sort of drum brake. You wind a little ratchet out, which spreads it out. But there's also another adjustment, and that's under the, probably about in line here, right under the middle, which is basically your handbrake cable adjustment. So if the cable stretches, you really want to adjust that one. Honestly, you shouldn't really need to adjust the brakes in the drums unless you drive around with the handbrake on, because technically they shouldn't actually wear out. The drums shouldn't really wear out. If you're just putting it on and off for when you're parking, then you know they shouldn't wear out. But the handbrake cable will stretch, and so, but we will show you both variants of how to adjust that today, and so everyone gets a fairly good idea. Same procedure again as on the Falcon, the BA Falcon that came out in early 2002, but I think the AU Falcon before that is very similar, no change in there. So you can probably use the same techniques on from AU right up to the BF before it was retired in 2016, which is the same time as the Territory was retired and manufacturing in Australia stopped. So let's pull those back wheels off, and I'll show you those the drums. Obviously this is the disc brake, but inside this piece here, that's actually a drum. That's where the park brake actually sits inside here. It's just a drum that comes out. And the way you adjust that is you pull this little grommet out. I hope you can pull this little grommet out. A bit hard to do. Now what you need to do, the adjustment, this is the right hand side of the car, so the adjustment is about here. So it's the lower front of the disc, and it's the same on the other side. It's the front lower part in here. Now I have jacked the car up, so technically the diff should allow me to turn the wheel, which it does. Now I'm not sure you're going to be able to see in there. Now I need to get a torch. Hold it a second. Right, so I've got the flash on, and so there you can see the little drum wheel that you need to turn. And basically it's very similar to like setting your, if you had disc brakes on your car, you basically need to wind that. Now this is winds the opposite way, so winding that down makes it tighter, which is what you want to do on the right hand side of the car. You want to wind that down, and basically you want to wind it to a point where you back it off so that it just doesn't touch. You don't want the brake shoes touching the outside of the drum. So basically you wind it out just so that it doesn't touch. And so this side, I believe you want to wind it down, and the other side you want to wind up, so the opposite on each side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brake caliper off so that we can take this whole assembly off, so you can actually see what's happening underneath, because once you see that, you'll understand much more about what's going on. So just 2 bolts to take the whole caliper off. You don't need to take the adjustment sides off. Just use to take these 2 15mm bolts, 15mm heads, and the whole caliper will slide off. So the drum, and the disc and drum all in one, if you're really lucky, should just come off, and there we go. So as you can see, here's the disc, but there's the drum inside for the park brake. So it's just like a mini drum brake. It's only very small. As you can see up here, the pads are very small, little pads. There's lots of meat left on them. Now if we come down over here, here's the adjustment. So basically that just needs to be wound out just like any old disc brakes. You basically, what you're doing through the window is you're just pulling that down, turning that, and that will just opens up a little bit. And obviously it's probably better to have the brakes on there, because then you adjust it to just not touching, or wind it up to it touches, so it can't turn, then wind it back a little bit. So now you can see what you're doing. You can understand a little bit better about what you're actually doing without having to take the caliper / drum off. So pretty much it's that easy for adjusting this part of the brakes. But the other part, which is the cable part, and what we'll do is put this on, then we'll back the car in, put them up on the ramps because it's a bit tight under there, and I'll show you how to adjust the handbrake part. So one of the adjustments is around here, right in the middle of the car for the park brake. And that's it there. So you can see one goes into 2. And so we can wind that up quite a bit more actually. You can see that's got some more thread on the top. We need to make that shorter. And that's, you basically need to adjust this if your cables of your park brake have stretched. They're not necessary here for if your pads are worn on your park brake. So here we go. So this is roughly about just in front of the tyres. So basically got a crescent on one side and a ratcheting spanner on the other, and we just wound that up probably by about 10 mils, and that's made a huge difference, gone from about 7 clicks down to about 3 clicks. So that's actually relatively easy to do that adjustment, and that's the adjustment you need to do if your handbrake cable is stretched. So this was a very straightforward job. that any DIY person could do. Really, it took more time to figure out where the adjustments were than actually doing the adjustments. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you really like this type of video, please give us a big thumbs up and we'll see you next time. Cheers.